Warm welcome, students. Welcome back to our online teaching and learning at Shaith Vidya Mandir English High School and Junior College. Students, we all have various hobbies which we like to do when we are free, either from our studies or from our work. Like in this picture, many of you might be found of any one of the activities, let it be playing together with friends or like singing, painting, reading, writing, etc. and so on. The list and the interest one has is never ending. But as time passes by, now one has become too busy with different kinds of work. Like in this image you can see, if you talk about, the mother is very busy with the household chores, whereas the father is overloaded with the office work. And finally, it's you who's loaded with a lot of homework and other school activities. So, this is what life is all about, students. Our life has become very busy that we don't have time for leisure activities. Our today's topic is also very familiar to one of the leisure activity that we don't have time for, which we shall understand through the poem Leisure by William Henry Davies, Standard 8, Lesson 3.4. Let's know something more about the poet William Henry Davies. William Henry Davies, born on 3rd July 1871 and died on 26 September 1940. He was a Welsh poet and writer. Davies spent a significant part of his life as a tramp or hobo in the United Kingdom and United States, but became one of the most popular poets of his time. The principal themes in his work are observations about life's hardships, the ways in which the human condition is reflected in nature, his own tramping adventures, and the various characters he met. Davies is usually classified as one of the Gregorian poets, although much of his work is not typical of the group in either style or either in theme. Before we begin the poem, let's understand the importance of the leisure from the poet's point of view. In this poem, the poet talks about how man is so rushed and busy. It is important that we set aside time for leisure in our daily schedule. We have become slaves to time and worldly occupation. We no longer have the time nor the interest to appreciate the world around us and enjoy the simple pleasures of life. So, that is the point of view from William, the poet, who tries to explain us or tries to highlight the importance of leisure. Leisure is a free time where you give the space for your art or for your specialty or for the hobbies which you love to work on or to improve them or to spend a good quality time thinking or doing something different which you have that quality in you. So, moving ahead to understand what the poem is all about. So, the poem reminds us to take time to appreciate the beauty of nature and be thankful to God. However, if we are too busy with our daily life and worry too much, we forget to watch and admire nature's beauty. It is a sad life if we can't find time to relax and appreciate the nature around us. So that's only come to from the poem. It's related to nature. So the poet is trying to tell us that we are so busy that we don't have time to experience the nature. The poem consists of 14 lines, so we shall understand each line carefully. So let's get started. What is this life if full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. So first line, what is this life if full of care? Now the word care here stresses to the word stress or worries which one takes. You're very careful to your work, and that means you are very stressful or worried too much about the work. We only take stress when we care for someone, right? So that's why the word full of care is used. So, what is the purpose of life if full of worries because too busy with work and problems? You have problems and you want to take care of your problems. You have a lot of work and you have to take care of your work. So, indirectly, you're full of care, you're filled with care, and that you don't have time for the nature. We have no time to stand and stare. We don't have time to stand at one place and stare at something. Stare is look continuously or vacantly. So we do not have time to pause and admire the nature around us. Like you, when you and your parents decide for a vacation, it might be the best part and the best decision which we take once in a year. So that's when the time we go and feel the nature and move in the nature and be with the nature for a couple of days. So it's all fun when you are in the nature. But do we have time each day to take out some time and stare at the nature? No. Our lives are so busy that we don't have time to look at these activities and do such activities which pleases us. We like to be in the nature. It pleases us, it soothes us. But it's up to us whether we want to use some time of our daily life in watching the nature. Like here you can see in the pictures, stand and stare. Like here you can see some people spending some quality time in the nature and standing and staring at the nature. Moving to the next two lines. No time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep or cows. We don't have time to stand beneath the boughs. Beneath is underneath or below, and boughs are the branches of a tree. Like in the earlier image, you saw people standing below the trees and watching the wonderful beauty of the nature. So we don't have time to stand, even just stand and watch at the nature, just standing below the tree. So busy people do not have time to stand under the trees and stare as long as sheep or cows. We don't have time, that specific time, like the sheep and cows, how they stand and stare at the nature. So just like sheep and cows, which graze in the fields, they just stand and stare at their surroundings. Now, if you go to see, you cannot compare a human with an animal. Humans have got a lot of work, whereas animals don't have work except their livelihood which they live. So they have a lot of time to stare at the nature. Like in this image, stand beneath the boughs. Do we have time to sit below the tree and have some good quality time with our friends, with your own self? We don't have time that much. And when we have those little time, the little time what we get at the part of the day is the night time. So hardly you have time to spend. We don't have even time, like as long as the cows and sheep are staring at the surroundings, at the nature, we don't even have that time with us. Moving to the next two lines. No time to see when woods we pass, where squirrels hide their nuts in grass. We don't even have time to see woods we pass. The woods what we see in the forest or in the nature, we don't even have time to see them as they pass by. Where squirrels hide their nuts in grass. Squirrels are a tree dwelling rodent with the bushy long tail which feeds on nuts and seeds. Now you've been always all very familiar with the squirrel. You have seen a very long fur. It's very soft and sweet animal. It makes holes in the woods. We don't even have time to see where the squirrel has gone with its nuts. As busy people do not see squirrels hide their nuts in grass when they pass through the forest. We don't even notice that thing. It means that busy we are in our work that even when we are in the nature we don't realize these all small wonderful things happening around us and we ignore them all. Like woods we pass, we are passing by the woods, we see big woods, but we don't notice these creatures which are moving in the nature. Squirrels also hide their nuts in the grass, like these squirrels, a soft fur and a small living insect. Moving ahead to the next two lines. No time to see in broad daylight, streams full of stars like stars at night. Rivers sparkle in the sunlight. In the day, the rivers look like stars at night, but busy people do not have time to see this. So here the next seventh and eighth lines just talk about that there's no time to see in the broad daylight. We go to work. Your parents, you can take the example of your parents, go to work right in the early in the morning before the sun rises, and they come back home almost when the sun is set. So they don't have time to stand in the broad daylight and watch and feel the nature. When they come back, it's already dark. What is there in the nature to see? Just a dark cloud and everything looks dark, isn't it? So, no time to see in broad daylight. Streams full of stars. Stream is a narrow river which is flowing, full of stars like stars at night. How the stream is shining with the glittering water. So, it shines, it looks like as if the sky is having stars twinkling in the night. Like that, it looks like. Like you can see this image over here. Streams full of stars. It is just the shine which we can see in the water, and which we can notice in the moonlight. Whereas, like stars at night, stars are twinkling in the night. It's all that we have to feel the nature, look at the nature, understand what things we see around. Only then we can feel the proper nature what we live in. Moving ahead with the next two lines. No time to turn at beauty's glance and watch her feet how they can dance. Now here the nature is personified as a beautiful woman who is glancing and dancing. She's taking a glance, having a look, and even dancing. We don't even have time to look at the nature who's dancing. So the nature is personified as a beautiful woman. The beautiful dancing woman is compared over here. Who's having a glance. She stares at the nature and she's dancing in on feeling the dance with the nature. So when a woman glance or dance, she will move parts of her body. When nature changes, it is like a beautiful dancer. Busy people do not have time to admire the changes or the movements of the nature. Like in this image, you can see a beautiful woman is dancing. We don't even have time to look at this nature which is dancing before us. We don't even time to stare at that part of the nature. Looking forward for the next two lines. No time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. Busy people do not have time to watch the changes in nature, isn't it? So when nature changes, it is like a simile. It's like a smile that starts from the eyes and spreads slowly to the mouth. It's like when you stare at a beautiful young woman's eyes, and the smile which is seen in the spark which is seen in the eyes is seen through her smile. So the nature is again personified here, saying it is like a beautiful woman who is shining and trying to smile with the beauty seen in the eyes. It's only that we don't notice all these things. Like you can see over here, the eyes has a spark with the mouth showing the shine and the beauty of that thing. Even you can see the rose. The rose has got its magnificent beauty. When nature changes, it is like a woman's smile. The smile starts from the eyes and spreads slowly to the mouth. It's the eyes that recognizes the thing and slowly it is seen with your facial expression. Moving to the last two lines. Like in this image, you can see the man working in the office. He's so engaged with so many activities which he has got to do, and there's so little time which he has left with it. And so he is very occupied with things, and he doesn't have time to feel the broad daylight, to see the stars and the streams, to see the staring of the beauty of nature or the cows and ships. There's no time that he can stare at because he's so engaged in the work and is completely busy. He doesn't have time to remove some quality time for himself. So that's how life has kept us so busy that we do not have time. But the poet wants to make us realize that it is our work to remove time for ourselves and feel the nature. If you don't have time for yourself, just feel in the nature, just appreciate the things what you see in the nature. Moving ahead with the essential part of the poem. Moving ahead with the essential part of the poem, that is the figures of speech. Firstly, we shall discuss the figure of speech, which is commonly seen, that is the metaphor. Metaphor is a comparison in which one thing is said to be another. Like from the poem, we can see the lines, no time to turn at beauty's glance. Now, here, no time to turn at beauty's glance, here it talks about a comparison which is indirectly made with the nature and the beautiness of a young woman. And watch her feet, how they can dance. Again, an indirect comparison is made where the nature is personified and it is told the human qualities of, it's given a human, indirect comparison is made where the human quality is given, which is impossible for the nature to do. Moving to the next figure of speech, that is simile. A simile is a comparison of two things using the words like or has. That is what we have learned. So from the poem, we can have the lines and stare as long as sheep or cows. So you can see a direct comparison made between the poet and the staring of the sheep or cows. Even we too can stare. So it's a direct comparison. Whereas streams full of stars like skies at night. Again, there's a simile where like word is used where the comparison is directly made. Moving ahead with the next figure of speech, that is personification. Now, the lines which give a human quality are, and watch her feet how they can dance. Now, here the nature is given human qualities of dancing, so the nature is personified. No time to wait till her mouth can enrich the smile that her eyes begin. Again, the nature is personified of having a smile on the face and the glow that we can see in the eyes. Hope the figures of speech is clear to you all. So, what moral values we understand from the poem is to live a balanced life. So, we need to strike a balance between work and leisure. We should learn to relax and to balance between work and leisure. We can find pleasure in observing small things and be alert to the beauty of our surroundings. Who knows, we may even be inspired. If we live a balanced life of work and leisure, we would be happier individuals. So, in short, life, what the poem also teaches to have a balanced life where we have all the activities done in and out every day. So we can take out time for our work. We can also take out time for ourselves and feel the nature, or remove some good quality time for your own comfort. So you, for that you need to have a balanced life. For that you need to have a proper routine. So you should have the difference between work and leisure should be understood. Secondly, it's important to set our priorities correctly. Priorities are the important things what we like to do every day. So what kind of priorities do we have? If we always have no time to do the things that give us pleasure in life, life is only just one chance. Life only gives us one chance, isn't it? So if you don't have your priorities being fulfilled, you don't have time to take out for your priorities. That's your important things, what you like to do with your leisure or free time, or what you're passionate about. If you are not able to take out that life, what is the meaning of this life? That is the second message what we can take from this poem. So the answer can be, the poet wants us to examine our priorities so that our life will not be a poor life that is only full of care, but one in which we can live to the fullest because we take time to set our priorities correctly. We take a lot of time to set our priorities correctly, but for that we need to take out time. If you're not able to take out time, how would we come to know our priorities, what we want, or what are we lacking for? Time for some assessment now. See where. Now you're a fill in the blank certain. Dash do the cows and sheep stand. So you have to say where are these things to be found. Like the first one, they stand beneath the boughs of trees. The beginning of the part the dots are given is the part of the poem which is earlierly said, and the remaining part of the line of the poem is completed. So which line do we reverse that? That is, they stand beneath the boughs of tree. The second one is, do squirrels store their food? Which part of the poem talks about? They store their food in grass. The next one is, do stars shine in the daytime? They shine in streams full of water. The daytime you can see them shining in the water. Lastly, does beauty's smile begin? Which line does it talks about from the poem? That is, beauty's smile began in her eyes. Think and answer in your own words. These are personal questions which you have to read them and understand and fill them in your own words. Moving ahead, you have learned when a human attribute is given to anything that is not a human being, or it is spoken of as a person, the figure of speech is personification. So human quality given is called personification. We have already discussed personification, so you may answer this question again. We have also discussed about simile and metaphor, and alliteration you have been already done so far, so you can go for this question too. In the poem there are even some rhetorical questions asking a question. So you have to just pick out those sentences which ask us a question for which there is no answer given. That are the rhetorical question, or called as an interrogation. So those lines you can pick up and write the same. Say where the images from nature given in the poem exist. Air, land and water. Now beneath the boughs, what is it talking about? Land. Squirrel hide nuts in grass. Which part is it again? Land. Streams in daylight is again water. And lastly, stars or skies at night is related to the air. I hope you have enjoyed the lesson and understood the importance of leisure time. Thank you.